Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to me on YouTube. It's been a long time since I posted, and today I'm just doing a quick narrative of day one of my trip to Dayton, Ohio for Hamvention 2022, the 70th reunion of Hamvention. I flew out of Charlottetown on Wednesday, May the 18th, on an Air Canada flight that was serviced by an Airbus A220. Now, I used to fly a lot for work years ago when before COVID times, so I'm quite familiar with almost everything in Air Canada's fleet. But this A220 type aircraft was only introduced in the last couple of years, and of course with significantly reduced travel, I don't think it flew very much. It certainly didn't fly anywhere with me on it. I've never been on one of these before. So this plane is practically brand new. And as you can see here from the ramp, Charlottetown does not have an air bridge. So usually large jets like this, when they land at most airports, there's an air bridge that will push up to the plane, and you walk off the plane into a long hallway. And eventually, sometimes with stairs and sometimes not, just with ramps, you end up inside the terminal. But in the case of Charlottetown, they use a rollable, almost a gantry type stairs structure for the airplane that is rolled up to it, and it's all done out of doors. So you come down through a couple of different ramps and then you walk onto the tarmac. I sped the video up here a little bit for our taxi out off runway 21 at Charlottetown, and we lifted off right on time, and it was a really great flight all the way around. As we're taking off here, you can see the airport area here of Charlottetown, and underneath the airplane now is passing the perimeter highway, which goes most of the way around the city. It's not all that fast really, because there are lights on it, traffic lights that do stop you from time to time, and there's a couple of traffic circles as well, roundabouts as we call them, that will force you to slow down, which is not a bad thing, I guess, as you go around the city. And you can see in the distance there across the water, across the causeway and bridge, that's Stratford. That's the community where I live. And as a matter of fact, on the climb out here off runway 21, I was able to spot my street, and to some extent I think I spotted my house, although they're at a low altitude like this, they're packed pretty tightly. Charlottetown has a cruise ship terminal, and just out of the right hand side of the screen there in the foreground, you're seeing that come into view. There's no cruise ships in the harbor here, but there was a cruise ship on my way back when I flew back in here a few days ago. Stratford is a growing community across the water there. It has probably 15,000 or so people in it already, and it's growing mightily fast. There's lots of construction going on, and I expect that one day it'll either have city status of its own, or it will amalgamate with Charlottetown and create an even bigger Charlottetown. Looking out off the coast there, you see a little bit of Point Prim right in the distance there, and that is a very well recognized feature of the land for anyone who flies over PEI. Point Prim is a great reference point, especially if you're coming in from Trenton, Nova Scotia, or one of those other airports, even Halifax or Stanley or Debert. Point Prim gets you a really good alignment for the airport itself. Now, moving along in the flight, I've obviously sped things up a great deal. We're coming in now over the island of Montreal, and there's Olympic Stadium showing up there as it's passing by underneath the wing. We're landing today on this particular flight on runway 24 left. There are two runways in each direction, 24 left and 24 right, 06 left and 06 right, and there's also runway 10 and runway 28. So we're coming in today on runway 24 left, which takes us over this industrial park type area. This is Saint Laurent as we're coming in over it, and eventually we went over Highway 13. That's an auto route that goes north towards Mirabel Airport. And now I've brought the video back down to normal speed, and we're landing here at what I used to call Dorval Airport. I was born only a few miles from here, just out of that window actually, in Lachine, which is a suburb of Montreal and borders the city of Dorval, which is where the airport is located. Now they don't call it Dorval Airport anymore. They name it after a dead prime minister, which is fairly common here in Canada. the airport was fairly busy, and probably the busier it will get, obviously, as the summer tourism season gets rolling, as people are able to travel again. The aircraft taxied all the way around from Runway 24. We had to circle the terminal and come in from the other side. We ended up, I think, at gate 51, if I'm not mistaken, which is a gate that sometimes handles international arrivals and sometimes handles domestic arrivals. And in our case, not being an international flight, we were fine to walk in without having to clear customs or anything. However, it's a really, really long walk through hallways and up and down stairs and things to get to the terminal. And here is the flight I'm going to take next. This is the plane just arriving at the gate. We're now on the way to Ottawa. So I'm in a Q400 at this point. It's made by de Havilland. This particular plane was kind of grungy, frankly. A lot of stuff was scuffed and dirty and didn't work. The window was kind of filthy. And I don't know. As we're taking off here, we're looking down. Probably one of those planes is the one I came in on as we're flying over the terminal on the way out for Ottawa. We took off the same runway that I landed on, 24 left. So this is why you get this kind of view of the terminal as we turn to the west-northwest and head for Ottawa. But the Q400, man, I was on fairly regular flying duty when it first came out and joined the Air Canada fleet. There's our shadow down there. But my goodness, it's been just only a few years since they introduced them, but man, they're really starting to show their years and their age. So now we're en route. That's the Ottawa River down there. You can see a very muddy river that's emptying out into the Ottawa River, and we're just coming out of cruise at this point, getting set for our landing on Macdonald-Cartier Airport, runway 25, if I'm not mistaken. And there is the 417 highway that goes really from Montreal or from the Quebec-Ontario border all the way to Ottawa. And that's a huge building there. I have no idea what that is, but I mean to look it up. I don't know if it's an Amazon distribution warehouse or what, but it's absolutely massive. So the 417 has been around now for about 50 years, a well-traveled highway between the nation's capital and the nation's best city, which of course is Montreal. Now, unfortunately for me in the Q400, I'm sitting fairly far back. I think I'm in row 15, and I'm right underneath the engine, so I can't see much as we start coming in now. I've sped this up a bit, not to bore you too badly, but as you can see, I don't have much of a view. If it weren't for the engine there, I would probably be able to see downtown Ottawa and the Parliament buildings fairly well. But as we see instead, there's a significant obstruction. But of course, you need an engine, so I'm not going to complain that there's an engine on that side. And we touched down runway 25. It's a straight-in approach. Went fairly well. Nice, smooth landing. Well done by the pilots. It's a lovely day to fly. And the wind was almost straight down the runway, so not a lot of complicated adjustments. First time I've been back in Ottawa for quite some time. Probably of all the airports I've flown into and out of across Canada, other than my own airport here in Charlottetown, or the Toronto Pearson Airport, where you often have to go to change flights, Ottawa would be the most used airport by me, both for arrivals and departures. I worked in Ottawa sometimes a couple of times a month for a period of about 15, or I'll say 10, about 10 years. I was in Ottawa almost every month, sometimes twice a month. And it's a lovely city. I love going to Ottawa, and the airport is quite convenient, especially for public transit. I'll get to that in another video that I plan to release down the road here a bit. Once we landed in Ottawa, it was a matter of a friend of mine, Dave, picking me up and drove to his place. And then we spent the night there before pushing on to Dayton. And what you're seeing now is the first hour of the following day's drive, leaving the Smiths Falls, Ontario area and heading towards the American border, where we crossed and continued our trip to Dayton. So thanks for coming along on our trip to Ottawa. Next, it'll be their trip to Dayton, Ohio.